The flashing lights of the police cruiser lit up my quiet suburban driveway like some bad reality show. And there was Karen Kensington. Arms flailing. Voice shrill enough to wake the whole cul-de-sac. "Officer. He's refusing to follow our rules. He won't pay dues. He's blocking community access with that ridiculous gate. And he's making the rest of us look bad." She shot me a smug little smile. Certain this was the moment she finally crushed the one homeowner who wouldn't bow. I didn't yell. I didn't even sigh dramatically. I just reached into the folder I'd been quietly building for months. Pulled out the deed. And handed it over. "Officer. This might help," I said calmly. "That community access Karen keeps screaming about? It's my private property. She's been standing on it the whole time." The cop's eyebrows shot up. Karen's face went from victorious to ghost white in half a second. The neighbors who had wandered out to watch the free entertainment started whispering. In that single moment, the Queen of Oak Ridge Estates realized she hadn't just lost a fight, she'd spent years terrorizing the one guy who actually owned the ground beneath her feet. My name is Ryan Ellis. I'm a 42-year-old data analyst. Husband to Sarah, a pediatric nurse who's seen enough real drama to last a lifetime. And dad to 2 kids who just wanted a backyard to play in without getting fined for excessive laughter. We moved to this picture-perfect cul-de-sac in suburban Texas 2 years ago, chasing the American dream: good schools, low crime, friendly neighbors. What we got instead was Karen. Oak Ridge Estates looks like every other shiny new subdivision: manicured lawns, identical beige houses, a community pool that nobody actually uses because of all the rules. But underneath that postcard surface is a suffocating web of HOA regulations that dictate everything from the exact shade of beige your front door can be to how many political signs you're allowed during election season. Spoiler, 0. And ruling it all with an iron fist wrapped in pastel cardigans was Barbara. Call me Barb. Sweetie Kensington. Barb was the HOA president. A title she treated like royalty. Widowed. Childless. And apparently bored out of her mind. She patrolled the streets in her white Lexus like a hall monitor who'd discovered steroids. Clipboard always in hand. Voice dripping with fake concern. She loved to say things like, "I'm only doing this for the property values. Dear. We're all in this together." Except we weren't. Not really. The first time she came for me was a sunny Tuesday afternoon. I was grilling burgers in the backyard when she marched up the side path, without knocking. Of course, clipboard tapping like a judge's gavel. "Ryan. Honey," she started. "All sugar and venom. Your annual HOA dues are 3 months overdue. That'll be $650. Payable immediately." I flipped a burger and didn't even look up. "I'm not in the HOA. Barb." Her laugh was sharp. "Oh. Everyone says that at first. But rules are rules. You live here. You pay here." "Actually," I said. Still calm. My lot was sold separately before the HOA covenants were recorded. Check the county records. I'm not subject to any of it." She blinked once. Twice. Then gave me the smile people give when they're already planning your execution. "We'll see about that. Noncompliance gets expensive fast around here." She spun on her heel and left. That night, the first violation notice appeared taped to my front door in bright neon orange: mandatory membership enforcement, $150 fine. I smiled. Took a photo. And filed it away. Most people would have paid just to shut her up. I wasn't most people. I'd spent years in corporate data analysis spotting patterns. And Karen was the biggest, loudest pattern I'd ever seen. Over the next few weeks, the harassment escalated in the most comically petty ways possible. A $75 fine for my trash cans being visible from the street for 14 minutes past the permitted window. Another $100 because my son's basketball left a single scuff mark on the driveway, never mind that half the neighborhood had basketball hoops. Then came the masterpiece, a citation for unauthorized foliage because my wife planted lavender instead of the approved neutral tone ground cover. Each time, Karen delivered the notices personally. Always with the same scripted speech, "I hate to do this, Ryan. But if we let one person break the rules, the whole community suffers. Think of the children." I never argued. I just said, "Noted," took the paper, and added it to what my kids started calling Daddy's Karen file. Inside that growing binder were dates, photos, timestamps, and, most importantly, quiet conversations with neighbors who'd been suffering in silence for years. Mrs. Alvarez from 2 doors down admitted Karen had fined her $200 for letting her grandkids draw chalk hopscotch on the sidewalk. She called it vandalism, she whispered. Ashamed. My babies were just playing. Old Mr. Reynolds, a retired Marine, got hit with a $125 fine for flying an American flag that was 3 inches too large. He paid it because he didn't want trouble. She's got the whole board in her pocket, he told me over coffee. The more stories I collected, the clearer the pattern became. Karen didn't enforce rules, she weaponized them against anyone who didn't kiss her ring. Longtime friends of hers? Their lawns could look like jungles and nobody said a word. New families. Single moms. Immigrants. They got the full neon notice treatment. I kept my mouth shut and kept documenting every ridiculous fine, every passive-aggressive email, every time she casually mentioned my family in the group chat as those people who think they're above the rules. The rumors started flying, Ryan's antisocial. Ryan's a freeloader. Ryan doesn't care about the community. I let them talk. Because every time Karen opened her mouth, she was handing me more ammunition. Then she made her first big mistake. One Saturday morning, I looked out the window and saw Karen marching toward my side gate with a pair of bolt cutters swinging in her hand like a medieval weapon. 3 of her loyal board minions trailed behind her, looking puffed up and righteous. She'd announced on the HOA Facebook page that she was restoring community access to the path that ran along my property line, the same path the entire neighborhood used to reach the community mailboxes and playground. She stopped at my gate, raised the bolt cutters theatrically, and announced loud enough for half the street to hear. This illegal barrier is hereby removed by order of the Oak Ridge Estates HOA. Snap. The lock fell. A few of her supporters actually clapped. Most neighbors just stared in uncomfortable silence. I stepped out onto the porch. Phone recording. Voice perfectly level. "Barb, I appreciate the show, but you just committed criminal mischief on my private property." She scoffed. "This isn't your property. It's a community easement." I smiled, the first real smile I'd given her in months. "Actually, it's not. My deed from 2018 predates the HOA plat. That entire strip, including where you're standing right now, is mine. You've all been trespassing for years." The bolt cutters suddenly looked very heavy in her hands. The police she'd called as backup arrived right on cue. When I handed the officer the deed and the survey map I'd had professionally updated weeks earlier, the look on Karen's face was pure cinema. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. The smug mask cracked. And for the first time, real panic flashed in her eyes. The officer read the documents, looked at the bright orange violation stickers she'd slapped on my gate, and sighed. "Ma'am, you're going to need to step off this gentleman's property. That should have been the end of it. But Karen was never one to go quietly. The next month became an avalanche of absurdity. Daily violation notices. Anonymous complaints to code enforcement about suspicious activity at my house. She even tried to get the city to declare my fence a public nuisance. Every single time. The inspectors came, took one look at the deed, and left shaking their heads. Meanwhile, my binder had grown into something terrifying. I had spreadsheets showing selective enforcement. 73% of all fines in the past 3 years had gone to non-white families or single parents. I had photos of her friends' properties with blatant violations ignored for years. I had financial records, quietly obtained through public requests, showing that 3 of the HOA's biggest vendors were owned by Karen's nephew and brother-in-law, with contracts approved at double the market rate. The neighbors who'd once avoided eye contact with me started showing up at my door with their own stacks of notices. The fear was cracking. People were angry. We held a quiet meeting in my garage one night. No drama. Just facts. By the end of the evening, we had 87 signatures on a petition demanding an independent audit and Karen's immediate removal. The final board meeting was standing room only. Karen sat at the head table, clipboard clutched like a shield, trying to project calm authority. But her hands were shaking. When it was my turn to speak, I walked to the front with the binder. I started simple. According to the county records, my property was never annexed into the HOA. That means every fine, every notice, every threat you've issued against me for 2 years has been illegal. I laid out the deed. The room went dead silent. Then I dropped the spreadsheets. Selective enforcement isn't just unfair. In Texas, it can be illegal discrimination. Gasps. Then the financials. Over $41,000 in questionable payments to companies owned by your family members. Barb, with your signature on every approval. Her face went from red to purple to ash gray. She tried the usual script: this is harassment. I've only ever acted in the best interest of the community. But the words sounded hollow even to her loyalists. When the board voted to suspend her pending investigation, the room actually cheered. The audit came back brutal. $47,000 missing. Nepotism contracts canceled. Civil suits filed by multiple homeowners. Criminal referral to the DA for potential embezzlement. Karen's Lexus got repossessed in broad daylight. Her friends on the board suddenly couldn't remember her name. She moved out 3 months later, selling the house at a loss because nobody wanted to live next to the former HOA dictator. The new board rewrote the bylaws with term limits, transparent bidding, and an actual appeals process. Fines dropped 80%. People started talking to each other again instead of reporting each other. Kids played outside without looking over their shoulders. As for me, I still have the binder. It sits on a shelf now. A quiet monument to what happens when one person decides they're above the rules while enforcing them on everyone else. The irony still makes me laugh sometimes. Karen spent years trying to control me on land she didn't own, using rules that didn't apply, all while standing in my yard screaming about community. She thought she was the queen. Turns out she was just trespassing. So here's the question I want you to answer honestly in the comments: if someone is weaponizing rules that don't even legally apply to you, are you the villain for fighting back with paperwork and patience, or is the real Karen the one who thinks community standards means my personal kingdom? Drop your HOA horror stories below. I read every single one. And if this story made you feel that sweet secondhand justice, hit like. Share it with every neighbor you know. And subscribe for more. Because the next Karen is always out there clipboard ready.